We coming. Give me 1 second. All right. Boom. I should probably change my Zoom view real quick. We coming. Give me 1 second. All right, boom. All right. I should probably change my Zoom view real quick. We coming. Give me 1 second. All right, boom. All right. All right, bet. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's
Oh,
get it.
we live.
We're super live. Super live. All right. Go ahead. I'm listening. We locked in.
Okay. Well, welcome back to day 2 of Decide and Conquer Live.
Hey, we got a title? Okay.
And do,
Okay.
and do,
Okay, with the title.
as long as you don't hit me with another CG, we might need to change the name. Gotta go back in and
ACG.
edit all them scheduled emails.
ACG. Quit telling all my business, bro. Quit telling all my business.
Is that not what we doing all week though?
Telling my business? Yes.
I'm glad it's yours and not mine.
We actually straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up. So for anybody, I know I don't know who's on yet. However, for anybody that believes that you gotta have this thing perfect from the gate, you don't. You don't. Actually, like I know people say, and we done made it cool to say, like, do it ugly, but for real, do it ugly. Like, figure it out on the fly. Make your adjustments on the fly. Do what you have to do on the fly because people like people like unique. They like seeing the process. That's why you that's why you used to grow up watching how it's made videos and all of that different stuff because you like the process, right? Behind the scenes footage, like we enjoy stuff like that. So do it how you doing it. I say that because that's exactly what's happening right now in this moment. I'm out of breath. I'm running around trying to get audio straight, video straight, all of that different stuff. Hold on. Please tell me that changed. Please tell me that made a difference. It didn't. Okay. It's okay, CG. I'm coming. I'm coming.
I'm here.
I'm coming. I'm coming. As long as you got my audio.
And check it. So I went back in Zoom last night or today. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, let me see if I can find the recording so I can like pull a clip for it.
Right.
Ain't no
Let
recording.
that go. No recording?
Ain't no recording. I mean,
Whoop.
it's
Wow.
on YouTube.
Right. But it's no
It's on YouTube.
actual recording.
In Zoom.
I got you. None
No.
of that.
Because somebody has their Zoom set up to where it just starts recording immediately. That drives me
It does.
nuts.
It does. It
I
does.
turned it off.
Oops.
And then
Secrets.
I
Secret.
never cut it back on.
Whoop.
I cut it off when we first got on. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just hit record when we start.
It bothers you that much?
That much.
It be like that sometimes. It be like that sometimes. But
So it's on YouTube.
we
It's on
on
YouTube though.
as long as it's on YouTube, right? Uh, go ahead. I'm down. I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
just
So
figuring life out right now.
I think yesterday we did a good job of doing an overview
Hmm.
um of your intro.
Okay.
We hit a couple of things from chapter 1.
Yeah.
I went back into the manuscript and we're gonna really hit on some things from chapter 1 and chapter 2. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna talk about tonight.
Okay, let's talk about it. Tell the people.
We are going to talk about your experience in New Orleans in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina.
Sheesh.
We're going to talk about men's mental health, also yours, carrying unprocessed trauma. We're going to talk about a couple of principles. I'm excited about this part.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that boy. No, we. Oh,
yeah. So my boy
yeah,
is the
we got
king of increase, but also the king of frameworks.
you.
And there are two
Oh, I
that
was
you
just
introduced.
celebrating because my camera was working. Y'all,
It's the light skinned Dre for me.
please don't say that out loud.
Oh
Don't say that out loud.
man. My
No,
boy got the
by
studio
the
lights
way, if
on.
if anybody's light skin on here, you can't help it. But it's the lighting. I promise you. I promise you. We're gonna have different lighting tomorrow. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out one day at a time.
I'm gonna have the same light tomorrow. That's all I got, y'all. I done had the same ring light since 2020. We're gonna talk about two
They're
frameworks
gonna be
that you
like, oh my
introduced, the
gosh, he's
elevation
so
gap
unprofessional. He is
and the big
brushing
domino principle.
he is brushing his beard while he on the live. Oh
It
my
is what
goodness.
it is.
It is. It is
It
indeed.
is what it is.
It
We
is
here.
indeed.
This is the process.
Yes, this is the process.
This is the
So
process.
let's get it.
Um, Also going to talk about your granddad,
Okay. I like
accountability. And I was looking, we'll get more into it, but there was a conversation that you brought up with you and your granddad, and I immediately was like, this what Dre be doing with us. You be granddaddy and all of us, and we ain't even know it.
do I be granddaddy and y'all?
And do.
Granddaddy is crazy.
So we're gonna talk through that as well.
Hear
Steph,
that?
let's get into it.
Because at least one of us Gaskins got some sense, so that'll work.
Hey, hey, if it's gotta be you, it's gotta
Yeah.
be you.
So I was having a conversation with my homeboy. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
All right, bet. It's my homeboy's birthday today, right? So you know Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yeah, you know Mike. Hold on. Because now we not working right. Hold on. Microphone. Y'all just bear with me. Bear with me. I promise. Um, Part of this entire process is showing y'all that it does not have to be perfect immediately. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. I cannot hear you at all. So um let's do can you hear me now?
Yeah? Can you hear me?
Can hear you perfectly. We good.
We live.
We good. We locked in. All right, bet. So I was talking to Mike. Today's Mike's birthday. And he was asking me, he was like, bro, what you up to? Now mind you, Mike is on my team, but
Mhm.
I always do stuff behind the scenes. That's just kind of me. And so he's like, bro, what you up to? And I was like, well, today I have the second day of the book launch. And he was like, bro, you launching a book? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, actually actively launching it in the moment,
Actively.
right? And he was like, so what do you mean like live? Because another thing that our audience doesn't know is I don't do lives, anti-live. This guy, anti-live. And so a majority of my career has been behind the scenes. And I like it like that, right? But now we're on to something different. God has me doing something different, and so I'm just following along, right? And so he was like, "Well, explain to me what like a live read is." And I'm like, "It's really not even a live read, right? It's Decide and Conquer Live." And he was like, "Oh," he's like, "Ain't that the book title?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the book title from like 6 years ago." He was like, "Oh, you finally getting ready to do something with that?" And I
Come
was like,
on,
"Hey,
Mike.
Mike, mind your business, dog."
Hey, you loud right now.
And so we was having a conversation. And as I was explaining to him the reason for the live reading, right? Um, I realized that I explained it to him in a way that I didn't explain to our audience yesterday, right? And so here's the reason why we decided to do a live reading. I thought about back in the day. I don't want to age nobody, nothing like that, right? But I'm an 80s baby. Shout out to all the 80s babies, 84, 85, like all of that. What year are you, Candace?
88.
88. All right, bet. So as back in our day when music was good, right? I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about this current generations of
Mm-hmm.
music. I'm talking about our generation of music, right? And so back in the day, when you created an album, before you started going out on concert, you had a album release party or a listening party, right? And so you would invite your friends, your close friends, your people in your circle, and y'all would sit around and y'all would celebrate the release of the album.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought process with CG was like, "Hey, CG, you remember like album release parties?" And CG was like, "Yeah." Why? Because she's an 88 baby. And I was like, "What if we did like instead of doing an album release party, we did a book release party,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of releasing the finished product, we actually talk through what's already done as we're finishing the product." Now, that might end up being a horrible idea, right? What I know about myself, though, if other individuals in our space catch wind of it, we're gonna have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pre-release parties, right? We probably gonna have a lot of those. But yeah, that's what we're doing. The idea of this is to have you see, experience, go through, challenge yourself, become more aware of yourself as we are finishing a product that, for the most part, is like done, but not
Mm-hmm.
complete, if that makes sense. And so I didn't explain it yesterday. I wanted to explain it today. And now we can get into it. Can you hear me
Okay.
from this mic?
I don't know.
Maybe? Okay, we'll figure it out.
AV not my ministry. Okay, I can hear you.
It's cool. We're fine. We're fine. I think you can't hear me from this audio right here. Is it crisp? It
It's
sounds
crisp. Yeah, it is crisp.
cool. 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 Let's get it.
All right, let's get it. Oh,
Hey, type
all
in the chat like where y'all if you are on right now, say hi. It's rude to show up to people's house and you don't speak, right? And I know
came in the
y'all
living room,
And I know
ain't
you,
said
yeah,
hey to
yeah.
nobody.
You just walk past everybody. Like if you did that at your people house, your grandma and them be like, "Hey, I ain't sleep with you last night." So listen,
Huh.
I ain't sleep with you last night. Like, go ahead and speak to us. Like, where are you from? What's your name? Where you from? And what are you looking to get out of this? Like, you were crazy enough, right? You were insane enough to show up yesterday. Now you showed up for a second day, right? So that's the second date. That's the second date, right? The first date, that's on me. Second date, that's on you. So speak to us. Tell us what's up. Where you from? And what are you looking to get out of this experience?
Lead the charge for us, if you will, Brother Dre. Who are you? Cause
I'm Dre. I'm just
if you don't introduce yourself to all 37 of these subscribers,
oh, we at 37? So
oh,
by the way, for 10 years,
I don't know. I know it's at 35.
for 10
Early.
years, y'all, I had like 20 something subscribers for like 10, 11 years. So the fact that it's jumping up is kind of crazy, but I rock with y'all and I appreciate it. I am Coach Dre. I'm Andre Gaskin at the end of the day. I'm Andre Gaskin. Dr. Dre, some may call me. Um, I won't tell you my roles. I'll tell you who I am. I'm a human being that loves people. I love the development of people. I love the progress of people. I love the transformation of people. And I believe that my calling is to do all those things with people, right? Not leading them. You know what I'm saying? This is a journey that we're all on ourselves. One of the problems that I believe exists in the world is some people position themselves as the guide when they really should be the follower, right? Some people position themselves as the leader when they're really on the same journey as everyone else, right? But it's hard to do that when you position yourself as a business coach. It's hard to do that when you position yourself as a pastor. It's hard to do that because now people start to look at you as if you are the standard for what they desire to be. So I'm just a human being. Um, when I was born, my mom was so drugged up that she decided to let my dad name me. My dad wanted to name me Aaron. She said hell no, so she wasn't that drugged up, right? And he decided to name me Andre. Also, because he fancied the military, he decided to spell my name phonetically. So my name is not Andre, Andre. My name is not Andre, Andre. My name is not Andre, Andre apostrophe. My name is Andre, Aundrae, right? And because my dad has hella game, when I first found out that everyone else named Andre on the planet spells their name differently from mine, I said, Dad, what was the reason for spelling my name with a U? And he was like, Dre, that U is for unique.
I'm weak.
He been running game. He been running game. Listen,
A
he
minute.
he been running game for a long time. That's OG
That
on.
boy quick on his feet.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
dangerous
Real
man.
quick on his feet because he wasn't ready for that. He didn't know that was coming. He didn't know that was coming. So, um, that is who I am. That is what I do. Is follow the calling to develop human beings no matter what their role is, no matter what their title is, no matter what they feel like their responsibility is. My purpose is to, as I am on the journey, um, help people navigate the journey of developing themselves into better human beings in every aspect of their life.
Mm.
That's me. Hey,
Hey, you.
let's get to it.
Let's get to it. We're gonna start off with a read.
Let's do it.
Let's start off with a read.
Yep.
Chapter. What chapter is this coming from? One. Actually, chapter one. Let me put on my Maya Angelou reading voice.
Okay.
While most military deployment stories take place in the sun-scorched deserts of Iraq or Afghanistan, mine unfolded in an American city drowning in its own devastation. New Orleans, Louisiana, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. I was 30 days from my 21st birthday and not yet old enough to buy a beer when I learned how bodies looked after days in floodwater. Yo. So this, as I was reading your manuscript for the first time, this was such a timely anecdote. So 2025, we saw a lot of the end of 2025, we saw a lot of anniversary type specials.
Mhm.
Surrounding Hurricane Katrina. We were 20 years removed from Hurricane Katrina. So for many, this antidote in your book, it affords us an opportunity to revisit all of the emotion and the tension surrounding this time. So as people are reading your story, all of those feelings, all of those memories come flooding back. You remember where you were, what was going on, and it adds to the cinema of the story. That's what I was getting as a reader. Um, so now your own first person experience adds a bit more depth to just this global story of Hurricane Katrina. So we're back 2005. You are 20 uh in the military. What's going through your head during these search and rescue missions? I mean, very much still a young person, a young man. What's going through your head? Is this at the beginning? I know we gave a timeline yesterday. So is this at the beginning of your military experience?
So this is kind of like in the middle, right?
In the
And
middle. Okay.
so, the first thing that comes to my mind is this time period is an introduction, my first introduction to survivor's remorse.
Hmm.
So what is not shared um, is prior to going to New Orleans, I had orders to Afghanistan.
Hmm.
I had orders to Afghanistan with a majority of my existing military unit. What ended up happening, people may not want to hear this, but what ended up happening was Hurricane Katrina turned into what we call in the military a dog and pony show, right? It was really like a showcase.
Hmm.
So all of your brass, the high level colonels, the high level, generals and things of that nature, they ended up being there. Why? Because cameras were there, right? So just like Oprah showed up out of nowhere and then left immediately after the cameras went off, just like Ray Nagin, who was the governor of New Orleans at that time, showed up, and as soon as the cameras went off, he flew out of um, ground zero is what I'll call it. Like all of the different, Brad Pitt, like all the different, movie stars and television stars and all of that, they showed up, but they showed up while you all saw them. They didn't show up to stick around, right?
Hmm.
And so um, before that, I had orders to Afghanistan and I was going with my unit. The reason that I ended up not going with my unit is because in addition to my regular position in the military, I was also our battalion leader, so the highest ranking individual in our unit. Um, let's just call him like the CEO of our unit, right? The CEO of our unit, I was also his driver, right? I was also his driver. So when he determined that he was going, then I got orders to go as well, right? So they canceled my orders to Afghanistan with my unit. And I went to New Orleans, they went to Afghanistan. They went to Afghanistan before us. In the barracks is like our living quarters. So if you weren't in the military, like, but you went to college, the barracks was like the dorm rooms. rooms, right? And it was four of us. And in some rooms it was four of us, in some rooms it was two of us, whatever. In my room, it was four of us. And all four of us had orders to Afghanistan. My three roommates, although I didn't get orders to it, my orders got canceled, they still went to Afghanistan. My three roommates never came back home. My three roommates never came back home. And so I'm 20 years old. I'm in New Orleans. All of my roommates were Caucasian, right? I'm in New Orleans and we get the word that because he's still the unit CEO, right? So he gets notified when certain things happen, what we used to call downrange. And so he informs us, the rest of us that are there. I'm literally one of the lowest ranking individuals in New Orleans because it's a dog and pony show. PFCs, private first class, they don't nobody nobody cares about us, right? So it doesn't really matter, right? But he ends up informing us that we had some casualties in our unit in Afghanistan. And he starts to name off the names. So if you can imagine, in the midst of doing search and rescue missions,
Mm,
the midst of looking at people that look like me,
mm,
in the midst of pulling them out of the water during the day, and at night, being at the New Orleans airport and having conversations with, again, people that look like me, mostly people that look like me, that are looking for their family members, can't find their family members. Did you find them dead? I just want to know where they are. Are they living? Are they dead? Whatever. Um, that is what my days and my nights looked like. And in the midst of that, while I'm dealing with the reality that death is wide ranging, up until this point, the only people that I have experienced losing their life were older family members or my homeboys that were in the streets. And both of those were understandable casualties.
mhm,
No casualty is okay. No disrespect to family members or anything like that. But you can wrap your mind around older individuals that were sick or in hospice or, I pretty much lived their life. You can wrap your mind around them no longer being here. Although it's tougher, you can also wrap your mind around people who lose their lives doing things that will present more opportunity for you to lose your life,
mhm,
right? What you have to understand as a soldier is you are trained to survive warfare, right? Never are we trained to, okay, you do this, you do that. We learn hand-to-hand combat. We learn how to fire all types of weapons. We learn how to use bayonets. We learn how to, we learn all of these different things. All of these different things are to survive. You learn how to live off the land. You learn how to catch animals. You learn how to dissect animals. You learn how to butcher animals and you learn how to eat animals, right? Everything is for you to survive. So if anyone ever tells you that they go to war, any veteran ever tells you that they go to war preparing to die, it's not a truth, right? All of your training is for you to come back home to your family. So although it may seem crazy to like a civilian for them to wrap their head around, none of us are expecting to not come back home. None of us are expecting for Someone to show up at your mom's door or your sister's door or your father's door and report to them that you didn't make it, right? That is not part of the plan. Part of the plan is for you to go do what you need to do so that you can get back to the crib, right?
Mm.
So I'm dealing with the reality of the politics, the everything. I'm dealing with the reality of search and rescue missions and putting bodies in refrigeration trucks, separating men and women, like literally. So one thing I learned while I was in New Orleans is you literally pass away in the posture of your last moments, right? So when rigor mortis sets in, it sets in how you were
Mm.
when you took your final breath. And so to this day, sometime I wake up like this, sometime I wake up in cold sweats, whatever the case may be. But to this day, I can, if I could draw or if I could paint, I'm not an artist, but not a painting artist by any stretch of the imagination. But if I were, I could draw for you a father or a man grasping a woman for the last time, right? Because I had to separate them in order to put them in refrigeration trucks, right? Um, Babies with stuck with the crying face, right? Like of torture, right? You literally see these moments. And while I'm processing that, I'm also processing why was I spared? Because my roommates and we, from the time we got to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to the time that we deployed to our different places, we lived together. Other than my family, those were the first humans that I ever lived with, right? And we cooked for each other. We cleaned for each other. We looked out for each other. We had each other's backs. We got in trouble for each other, right? Like those were my homies. And to be processing the fact that I'm blessed enough to not be in this situation, right? I'm blessed enough to not have been in New Orleans during this time, like a resident of New Orleans.
Mhm.
But I'm also processing the fact that I signed up for a duty. And part of my duty, if it comes to it, was to lose my life. That's what you sign up for, right? When you take that oath, never do they mention anything about you not coming home. However, it's an unspoken thing. It's an unspoken thing that there is a possibility that while you're protecting the United States of America against enemies, both foreign and domestic, you may be deceased,
Mhm.
right? And if I'm being real with you, Candace, that was the hardest part. The hardest part wasn't, I processed New Orleans later. While I was there, what I was processing is like, how come I was the person out of all of the people that our lieutenant colonel could have chosen to be his driver? Why me? Out of all of the people, nobody could get out of you can't get out of orders, right? It's an order. right? You can't get out of order. Like the only things that get you out of orders is like deceased family members. And even then, you go do what you need to do, take care of the family, take care of your family members' affairs, whatever. But then when you come back and you put on that uniform, you go wherever they are. So how come? How come I get saved? And little did I know that years later, one of the catalysts for my mental health diagnoses was those events. I was a young, spry 20-year-old until I got to New Orleans,
Mhm.
until I experienced me coming home and having to walk into that barracks room with our beds made exactly like they were made before we left.
Mhm.
But the only individual that had the opportunity to lay in that bed again was me. And we had this thing where this is a little bit further, but I'm gonna just take it there. Like, so when you live in the barracks, you have like barracks assigned sheets and blankets and all of that, right? And so in basic training, they teach you that it's two sides to the blanket. It's that military green, right? But one side is plain, it's just green. The other side has US on the top. U period S period, right? And so when you're in basic training, some people, we don't know the difference because we're still civilians, right? So we don't really know the difference. And our drill sergeants used to flip their tops, right? I'm trying to keep from cursing a bunch, but flip their tops when certain people would make their bed with the US on the top,
Mhm.
right? The only time you make a bed or the only time that US was supposed to show is when someone was deceased. So imagine walking in that dorm room as United States Army as I am, 21 years old now, drunk as a skunk at the moment, walking in that room, seeing those four beds, all of the green blankets. And that night before I went to bed, the only blanket that didn't have US facing up was mine. I remade all of those beds to honor because that was an honor. It was an honor. That was your way of honoring. Not it was an honor. That was your it was an honor, but that was your way of honoring your fallen comrades was to um, respect their life and their service. And so the first thing that I did in between vomits was make my roommates' beds with their blankets having US facing up. Um,
How did how did this all get left out of the original manuscript?
CG didn't ask me the question.
Andre, what are you? As you were talking, I made a some notes and we finna run through them because I told you um yesterday I sent you a long text
Did
um about yesterday and it was like I was like okay it was some stuff I didn't do yesterday that I normally do and we're gonna do it today.
do it.
So you talk about this being your introduction to survivor's remorse. And when you said that just a few minutes ago, I was immediately thinking in terms of you versus the falling in New Orleans.
Hmm.
And you kept going, and I was like, oh, wait, wait, this is a whole nother story.
Hmm.
Um, and it also got me thinking about this same concept of survivor's remorse, but what does this look like for high performers, the people that you are ultimately writing this book for, as you call them, the made it's.
Yeah.
What does this concept of survivor's remorse look like for the made it's? Because not everyone who picks up your book has military experience. Not everyone who picks up your book um has experienced death and
Yeah.
grief to the extent that you have, or as close, as up close and personal as you have. Um, so what would this, how do we conceptualize this idea of survivor's remorse for the maidens?
So it's interesting that you asked that question because I don't think that so some things, just like you said, some things you are not able to identify until you are exposed to them, right? Sometimes you can't make the transition from what your reality is to what someone else's reality is until you experience a piece of their reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that most individuals that help individuals have a hard time, let's just say, diagnosing survivor's remorse because they only apply survivor's remorse to survivors, right, of someone that has passed away,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what it looks like when it comes to founders, entrepreneurs, athletes, the made it's, right? Is do you know or are you the type of person that exceeded far beyond the rest of your family? And you don't hold it against them.
Mm-hmm.
They are who they are. And you are who you are. And you just decided to do things a little bit differently. But you may be experiencing survivor's remorse when you're the individual that got out the projects. I'm just giving an example. You're the individual that got out of the projects, but your family members, even though they may have gotten out of the projects, they still have a project mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't budget their money accordingly. They still want the finer things in life, but don't have the budget for the finer things in life. But guess who does have the budget for the finer things in life? You, because you're made it, right? And also the person who's going to give them the access to the finer things in life. You, because you're the made it. And for no reason of your own, just because you naturally have a heart that beats and you have learned over the course of your life to have empathy and compassion for people, you can't say no. They ask you for $100, it's yes. They ask you for $300, it's yes. They ask you for $500 to pay bills that they should have been able to pay with their own job and their own money. You fuss a little bit. You say, you know what? I shouldn't give you this. But what do?
You
You
get
give it to them because that's survivor's remorse, right?
So how are you helping, how do you to help clients navigate that? What's the advice for dealing with that?
It's not advice more than, great question. It's not advice more than it's identification,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I said yesterday, one of the best ways to help someone to become more aware of themselves, more aware of their actions, or to learn something is to apply it to something that they are already familiar with. Most people at this time in their lives, whether they're running a business, whether they're the CEO of a company, whether they are a middle manager, like whatever their leadership, a mother or father, whatever the case may be, many of them have heard the term and know the definition of the term survivor's remorse, but they don't apply it to the living. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Most of my role is not to necessarily teach people something. It is to make them aware of things that they already know and to see the transition between what they know and what they're experiencing, right? They translate. Survivor's remorse translates whether I'm telling the story of me or whether I'm telling or whether I'm repeating back your story of you. It still translates, right? So it's actually not teaching it, it's making them aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Although you have always applied this term to this thing, it's actually applicable to this thing as well. And if you, and once you become aware that it's applicable to this thing as well, right? Do you have a problem with it? So much of a problem with it that you're ready to do something about it. So now the follow-up question, CG, may be, well, what do you help them do about it? Set some damn boundaries.
Let's start there.
Learn how to say no. Is no easy? Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
No is hard for a survivor.
Yeah.
Boundaries are difficult for a survivor. But once you start to make the transformation from a survivor that's selfless, and a survivor that is selfish with the capacity to be selfless, it's different. Because now, when you say no, you're saying no for you. And when you say yes, you're saying yes for them, right? When you're saying no, you are taking yourself into consideration. When you're saying yes, you're taking yourself into consideration, but you also realize that you don't lose any of yourself
Mm-hmm.
if you say yes. That's different. That's different. Some people alienate themselves just to tell somebody yes. Some people say yes as respect for themselves because they know who they are and they know that they're a giving individual. There's a difference. There's a difference. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I'm pissed it's not here, but that's one of the reasons. So I was like, okay, this is definitely something we're gonna talk about because I just as I was reading, I noticed that you had a very great opportunity to use use these different concepts and like include them in the book. So, survivor's remorse, military versus civilian life, and exploring what this looks like for high performers because it's a completely different ball game. Life is different over there.
Yeah.
You're playing by a different set of rules. You're playing by a different set of standards.
And it was still
Um,
war. Like just like
yeah,
not
and
even
there was a
not,
few
not
things you said.
not even to interrupt, but like when you are Marine,
Hmm.
Army soldier, Navy sailor, Air Force airman, you are prepared. Like in the oath is protect the US against enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Hmm.
But you hear the foreign.
But
You
heavy on
don't
the end
you
domestic.
you don't hear the domestic
Hmm.
because you've been exposed to the domestic. The domestic
Hmm.
is your mom and dad.
Hmm.
The domestic is the kids you went to school with.
Hmm.
The domestic is your teachers. The domestic is the lady that rings you up at the grocery store.
Hmm.
So you really don't think about the domestic. You're heavy on the foreign.
Hmm.
So while you're preparing, while you're training, while you're learning all of these different levels of combat, these different engagements in warfare, you're thinking about someone that does not look like you, does not think like you. The enemy has been raised to hate America. That is what you think. What you never think is that you'll be in New Orleans when those people are fighting for their lives.
Hmm.
They're fighting for their lives. They're looting, they're stealing, they're hurting each other, and you can get it too. And so you have been trained to draw down on the enemy. You have been trained that someone with a turban that does not speak English is going to try to put your life in jeopardy. And so if they put your life, excuse me, if they put your life in jeopardy, you have to engage with the threat. What you do not prepare for is when the threat looks like you. What you don't prepare for is when you understand the plight of the threat. When you understand that, yes, this threat has a gun pointed at me. Yes, this threat is on a building in New Orleans, in the United States, and
Hmm.
it's shooting at me. You don't prepare for that. You don't prepare to engage with the domestic. You mentally prepare to engage with the foreign. What I learned in New Orleans is the enemy doesn't have a nationality. The enemy doesn't have a race. The enemy doesn't have a color or a creed. The enemy has a mind state. The enemy's mindset is to survive. And when you're geared toward survival, when someone is geared toward survival, they can be the enemy to anyone. I said that so everyone listening,
It's
you can
so
you can
good.
evaluate your friends, you can evaluate your family, you can evaluate your circle of influence, right? The enemy, them having a weapon doesn't make them the enemy.
Hmm.
Them having a bomb strapped to their body doesn't make them the enemy. Them being mentally dedicated to the survival of themselves is what makes them the enemy. And so your enemy don't have to blow you up. Your enemy don't have to put a bullet in your chest. Your enemy don't have to pray for your death. The enemy does not have to be raised to hate you. The enemy could be the person that get on the phone with the person that they know you don't like to gossip about you when they mad at you. That could be the enemy. The enemy could be the person that's trying to get a little bit more out of you because they are predicated, right? They are focused on their own survival. That's what makes an enemy. And we don't properly know how to identify enemies because we believe that enemies are only a physical threat. Enemies are a mental threat far before they're ever a physical threat.
So how do we equip high performers for this
Warfare.
war? Yeah, for warfare. How do we equip high performers for warfare?
So, first off, number one, you identify the enemy.
Mhm.
You have to be able to identify the enemy. Here, spoiler alert, sometimes the enemy is the person that you see in the mirror. First, you identify the enemy, right? Then you understand the rules of engagement. Once I identify an enemy, what is my next step?
Mhm.
What do I do? Right? Sometimes an enemy isn't violent enough to pose a threat, so you don't just kill them. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
We have been we as soldiers, we are trained to be able to identify. Once you identify the enemy, then you have to be able to decipher the threat.
Mhm.
Are they threatening your life?
Mhm.
If they're threatening your life, you may have to kill them.
Mhm.
But what if they don't threaten your life? We detain individuals just like the police force, right? If they're not a physical threat to my life, then they get detained, right? Then they get put in a camp or whatever we're doing, refugees or whatever we're doing, prisoner of war, whatever we're doing. But usually those individuals are where they are because they didn't pose a threat at the time.
Mhm.
And then there's some people, if y'all remember the story of Bin Laden, right? If you remember when Bin Laden was killed in his, like, Bin Laden was laying down, right?
Mhm.
But he's a threat to my life even when he's sleeping. You feel what I'm saying? So we got to take him out whenever.
Yeah.
The best time to get him, though, is when he doesn't have access to a weapon. And
Mhm.
that's probably when he's sleeping, either sleeping or having sex. Just being for real, right? It's the only time you probably not clutching a pistol. Gotta get you. They killed Bin Laden in front of his 2-year-old child and his wife. The child and the wife still lived. Why?
Wasn't a threat.
They did not pose a threat. So first you identify the enemy. Then you have to decipher the threat. What is
Mhm.
the threat that this thing, these people, this circumstance has on my life, right? Then you engage the enemy. These are the rules of warfare. Then you engage the enemy based off the threat they pose, right? Lastly, you eradicate the threat. Anybody in the chat or Candace, like anybody want to give me the definition of eradicate?
First of all, I was gonna ask you how to spell it. We gonna cut that out the live, okay?
No, we not. He not at all. Right. So eradicate. Is an archaic verb meaning to root deeply, fix firmly, or implant securely, right? It's frequently confused with eradicate, right? So there's two ways to spell this, and it's two meanings, right?
So I wasn't tripping.
No, you're not. So
Okay.
eradicate. One is IRRADICATE, right? That is to root deeply. This is important. This is important, right? I don't know if it's gonna make the book, but it's definitely important. Eradicate, right? It's close to like irrigate,
Mhm.
right? When you like irrigate plants and whatever, right? And then eradicate. That's what we're talking about.
Mhm.
ERR, I'm sorry, ERADICATE, right? Which means to remove or destroy completely, right?
For the record, chat, I had it spelled right in my notes.
That's my girl, spelling bee champion. I love it. I love it. So, eradicate,
Mhm.
right? It does not mean, it does not always mean to kill.
Mhm.
You mean what I'm saying? I can remove a threat without destroying the threat.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? You got any friends that were friends in college or friends when y'all were in high school, but y'all not friends no more because you just kind of outgrew them, right? Or
Mhm.
you noticed that they didn't have your best interest at heart. You eradicated the threat. You didn't kill them. At least I hope you didn't, CG. Well, we'll figure it out later. Right? But you either remove that, like you can remove without killing off, right? And so I don't know if y'all caught that whole. I don't know if you caught that whole. I don't know if you caught that whole framework, right? I don't know if you caught the whole.
Baby, listen, I got it in the notes
I
because
don't
you
know if
already
you
know how
caught
I
the
get
whole
down.
rules of engagement, but the biggest thing in there, and this is a message throughout
Mhm.
Decide and Conquer, because yes, Decide and Conquer. We may add an increase, but Decide and Conquer is definitely at least the beginning title of the book at this point. Um, the entire book, the entire manuscript, no matter what we're talking about, no matter what the framework is, no matter what the story is, all of these things don't work unless you have some level of discernment.
Mhm.
Because if I don't have, if my level of discernment isn't where it needs to be, right? I will think that a threat on my safety is a threat on my life.
Mhm.
And a threat on my safety is not a threat on my life. You feel what I'm saying? Like we like I was getting ready to say, we were trained in the military. Like you have to be able to understand and you have to be able to give warnings for threats. You may have a little girl running up to you in a backpack with a backpack on. Is that dangerous? Hell yeah, it is. It sure as you African American, that's dangerous. Are you gonna open fire on that little girl just because she's running at you?
I guess that would depend on steps one, two, and three.
Definitely
What
would
conclusions
depend
you
on
draw?
steps 2 and 3. You have identified the threat.
Yeah,
That little
yeah,
girl, that 5-year-old girl running at me with a backpack,
that's a
she's
problem.
dangerous. Why is she dangerous though? She's dangerous because she has on a backpack. She's dangerous because she's running towards me. She's not dangerous because she hates my life and she's been taught all of her life so far that I'm the scum of the earth. Not necessarily. She's a freaking 5-year-old, right? So now what do? I speak in her language or I tell her to stop. Does that work? If it does, we go on to another step. If it does not, I'm probably after 2 or 3 more times telling her to stop, I'm probably finna pick up this weapon and make sure I
Yeah.
got her in my crosshairs. Do I want to? No. Like one of the biggest rules used to be that you don't engage with women and children, right? But the enemy found that out. And so who did they use?
Women and children.
Women and children. So I see this 5-year-old running at me now. What should I do? I probably need to, because let me tell you, y'all may know certain levels of sign language, right? We know the middle finger means a certain thing. That's sign language, right? You, you never gotta speak a word to get somebody to rethink their decisions when you point a gun at them.
No, you don't.
Oh, I
Not at all.
promise you. I promise you.
It get real
I
clear.
promise you.
Yeah, it
You
get real clear.
may, you may not know the English language at all. You may not even know the language I'm speaking to you. But you know,
I know what that means.
when I aim at down these crosshairs and it's pointed at you,
Yeah, we clear down.
you better lay down or get down.
Hey.
Real talk.
Listen, I undropped my pen. Golly. Listen, you this is why I love doing these. There is so much juice and it's just so much meat, so much more meat on this bone. Um, you got some great opportunities to incorporate these things into your book. Um, the idea or concept of survivor's remorse, how that relates to your own experience with it, and then how then now does that relate to high performers, military versus civilian life, um, how to equip high performers, the maidens, how to equip them for warfare. How do we teach them to identify the enemy, deciphering threats, understanding rules of engagement, engaging the enemy based on the threat they pose? That was a bar. And then eradicating the threat. How do we prepare high performers in the same way that the military prepares soldiers to survive warfare? Um, what is the war for high performers? What are the weapons of war? You talked a little bit about the different types of weapons, hand-to-hand combat versus bayonets versus other weaponry.
Mhm.
So what are the weapons for high performers? Understanding when to deploy certain ones. But I would love to have you explore both of these concepts in the book and not just, oh, this gonna be in chapter 2.
Mhm.
Um,
But
I
throughout,
think that's a common theme that we can really weave throughout the manuscript.
that's dope.
Um, Set some damn boundaries. Boundaries are difficult for a survivor. I wrote that down. We got to incorporate that in somewhere. Um, we got to get this stuff in here. It wasn't originally in the manuscript, and it absolutely has to be.
It's so dope that we're having this conversation about like it. I don't know who all is on here, right? But some people may not know that the best way I did my best writing that manuscript,
Hmm.
but it wasn't me talking.
Hmm.
There was a time where if my significant other was mad at me, they wouldn't talk to me. And it used to piss me off, CG. It would piss me off.
You
They,
ain't feeling that cold shoulder?
they wouldn't talk to me and they wouldn't see me,
Hmm.
right? And all I want to do for whatever reason is fix it, right? But they wouldn't talk to me and they wouldn't see me. And after a while of this happening, I finally asked, like, hey,
What's up with that?
you just gonna keep sending me the voicemail? Like, because now it's a trigger now. So like, like why? And the response would be because however I feel, if I let you start using your words, I'm not gonna feel that way no more. It's different if it's a text message. Because I
Hmm.
can't get it all the way across in a text message.
Yeah.
But
If
if
I
you
hear you out,
if you let me use my voice, or if you let me see you and use my voice, so now I can touch you, now I can look at you eye to eye. But I didn't even know this is a strength of mine. I didn't know it was a thing. But I said all that to say, all jokes aside, that my gift is to speak.
hmm,
It's my gift. And so things that come to my mind when I'm typing a story versus things that come when I'm writing a story. I mean, when I'm t telling a story, like
hmm,
speaking a story, is different. And so that is why we did this. So I'm so happy that you said that because like although the manuscript is done, it has been done for 6 years at this point, it's not done because the spoken element of who I am and the spoken element of how I perceive the world through different experiences, other people's stories, whatever the case may be, is the missing, thank you, Holy Spirit, is the missing link. That's why this book hasn't been completed yet. That's why this book isn't published yet, because this part of it has not been put into place. And so, as God would have it, I would have a CG that was already in my orbit. I would have people that love me and care about me that are in my orbit, that continue to encourage me to do this thing. Because if you know, you know that at sometimes I shut the hell up and I just experience.
I don't know that Dre just
I
yet.
don't I don't talk. I don't say a whole bunch. um I watch. I'm calm. I'm
Hmm.
stoic. And um over the course of the military, over the course of my different experiences, whether it be in school, being a problem child, or um not always having my parents with me at the same time, or whatever adversity that I've experienced, right? Through all of that, I have learned to synthesize chaos. In my opinion, nobody does it better than me. Not living. And most of what people experience when we talk about the maidens, most of what people experience, while they're making the money, what are they experiencing? Chaos. While they're raising the children, what are they experiencing? Chaos. While they're growing or building or even seeking the relationship, what are they experiencing? Chaos. While they're trying to build the wealth or grow the finances, what are they experiencing? Chaos. As they are navigating their spiritual lives and trying to grow a deeper relationship or a deeper covenant with their creator. What are they experiencing? Chaos. As they're trying to develop or get clearer on who they are, whose they are, and what they're here for, what are they experiencing? Chaos. As they're leading people, as they're trying to lead themselves, what are they experiencing? Chaos. And so sometimes we focus on the thing, right? We focus on the outcome, but we don't focus on the process. And part of the process in every situation, 101% of the time, you are going to experience some sort of chaos. People don't come to me for them to make more money. People don't come to me just for them to be better people, right? People don't come to me just to lead better or just to communicate better or just to have better relationships or just to grow spiritually. People come to me to synthesize, help them synthesize their chaos. And there's not a person on the planet that does it better than I do. Why? Because I've had a shit ton of it.
For sure. For sure. So much so we didn't even get to half the stuff we was gonna talk about
No, we
today.
didn't. I mean, that's probably gonna be the story. That's probably gonna be the story this week. Is That's probably gonna be the story.
I can definitely see that happening because even as we were talking, I was like watching the clock and I was like, oh, we ain't gonna get to, and I was like, I'm cool with that because like tonight gave us a lot of space and a lot of room to really develop your stories. When you were doing your introduction at the beginning, you were talking about how you are a developer of people. Um, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a developer of people, but I'm definitely a developer of people's stories, people's personal narratives.
100%.
Um, seeing the things that seeing the things that they don't say
Mhm.
and calling those things out and asking questions about that. Not to just be nosy.
Mhm.
But to see what's the story behind the story? What's the untold truth? Let's unpack that a little bit.
And,
So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that.
and what I've heard
And
CT is like real quick, like what
mhm,
I pray is that as people are, you've heard, I've shared this with you before, but I feel like a lot of individuals that occupy the space that I have been called to occupy as a leader tend to only want to talk about themselves
mhm,
as a means to just talk about themselves. I have no interest in talking about myself.
mhm,
That's why I've been so quiet for so long. I have no interest, right? Like, I know myself, so I don't need to talk about myself.
mhm,
I also have developed this idea that there's only a small segment of individuals on this planet that I care about how they feel about me.
mhm,
Two of them created me. A majority of them have had a part of my development. Some of them are already in heaven. Two of them I helped create, right? It's not that many. And so when I lay down these last 2 days, last night and tonight, what I hope that people get from this is that I'm not talking about me as a means for you to know more about me.
mhm,
I'm talking about me as a means that you will hear something in what I'm saying about me to have you be more introspective about you. So, what is your relationship with chaos? What is your relationship with the survivor's remorse? Who is it that you keep saying yes to that you really need to be setting boundaries for? Who is around you that now with a new perspective on what it looks like, you can actually identify as an enemy?
Mhm.
And then now that you've identified them as an enemy, how are you going to manage that? Are they a threat to your safety? Are they a threat to your life? Are they a threat to your well-being? And when I say they, I'm not just talking about humans. I may be talking about that company you work for.
Mhm.
I may be talking about that boss you answer to. I may be talking about that money you make. I may be talking about that car you drive. I may be talking about the relationship with your significant other. Could be. It's not for me to decide, though. It's for you to decide. And so I pray that as we continue to do this, this book becomes not just a book, but a mirror for people to see them true selves, for people to understand that, like, no matter what it is you see, it's not inherently good or it's not inherently bad. It just is what it is. But you have the power to diagnose it. And if you got the power to diagnose it, you got the power to write a prescription for it. And that prescription can be the stepping stone to your healing. I just want people to recover. But in order to recover, you have to make a decisive decision. In order to recover, you have to adopt the attitude of a conqueror.
Mhm.
And in order to recover, you have to have an understanding that you are genetically predisposed for increase.
Well, well, well.
I've had so
And
much
that's day two, ladies and gentlemen.
I've had so much fun doing this. Like, I've been nervous, like not nervous, but I didn't know how this was gonna go. But this has been absolutely amazing and eye-opening for me. And what y'all don't know is there's so much more. If we start by reading a part of the manuscript, but it's 3 sentences, 4 sentences maybe, right? So it's not even a whole chapter. Then we're telling these stories or we're having these conversations. And as we're having these conversations, we're writing down other things that have to be talked about. Yesterday, Candace said, when I first opened your manuscript, I thought it was going to be like 250 pages. It may be, right? Like at this point, I'm excited to buy the book, right? Like
You know?
I want to read the book because I don't know what it's gonna look like. So hopefully we got any messages in the chat. Anybody decide to actually like be a willing and active participant today?
Let me see. Let me check this chat.
What we looking like? What we looking like?
No, I don't see any messages in the chat.
Okay, bad. We'll get it. We'll get it
Not
together.
yet. People still
We'll
being
get
scary. They don't want
it.
none of the smoke. They like, I'm
They
not.
probably just listening. One thing I've learned, I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna end with this. So when I first started preaching, was right before I went to the military. I preached my trial sermon. My trial sermon was God's got your back. My mom came from Jacksonville to St. Pete. It was dope seeing my mom and my dad in the same place, and um, I'm ready. Like all week I fasted that week. I fasted that week. It's my first fast ever. I fasted
Mhm.
that week. Um, like I was prepared. I had like outline and everything, and I started my sermon and I preached my sermon and like, I'm Baptist church, right? Like, so, it's a certain section in
Uh-huh.
the sermon where you start to do your hoop and holler, right?
Right.
And so I had mine labeled on my outline as showtime, right? That was showtime. My entire sermon and most after that were silent.
Hmm.
Not much noise, not many amens, not many preacher, not many,
Hmm.
not much of that. And so afterwards, I'm still in like my flesh, right? And so
Hmm.
I'm riding home with my grandma and my granddad, and they telling me what an awesome job. And my granddad is like, boy, you just wise. But I'm a teenager still. And like, boy, you just wise beyond your years. And like, that was one of the first times he told me. It wasn't the same comparison, but that was one of the first times he told me. He was like, boy, he was like, by the time you get where I am, I don't know. He was maybe 60 at that point, 70, I don't know. But he's like, by the time you get where I am, people are going to see you as this, right? And he gave like different uh comparisons, like Michael Jordan or whatever during that time. Right before he died, he gave me another comparison, which I told you about the other day. But we I'm listening to them and like I often had a problem with my identity because the only people that would tell me who I was were the people closest to me, and I just thought they felt that way because they were so close to me,
Hmm.
right? Like y'all will tell me anything. You're my granddad, right? Why would you tell me I totally bombed? But these people didn't make a peep. The whole sermon, they didn't say nothing. And he was like, Andre, you're not ever gonna be one of those people. You're not gonna be the person that people hoop and holler for.
Hmm.
You're not gonna be the person that people like shout out and run around the church or whatever. He's like, you're always going to be the person that people sit still and listen to. And so they're afraid that if they say a word, they're gonna miss something.
Hmm.
And so that may be why nobody's saying anything in the comments.
Maybe. I've seen that in person.
Double back, y'all. Come back later
I've
because
seen it in
we're not
person.
gonna be here later, right? We're not gonna be here later. Come back later and then holler at me in the comments. Holler at us
Yeah.
in the comments. This has been thoroughly enjoyable, CG.
It's a wild ride already, I'll tell you.
Never know where it's gonna go. Never
Never
know where it's gonna
know.
go. So hey, check this out. Conquerors, all of you are conquerors at this point. As I said yesterday, you all may not know, but today was the first day that we even advertised this a little bit on Instagram. Up until that point, the only people that knew that this is even going on was the 1,160 people on my email list. Now we'll say a little bit more because it ain't like I got like
I was like in the
it ain't,
400
hey,
and something
hey,
on mine.
yeah, it ain't like I got like 100 and something thousand followers. Like I'm not that guy, right? At least not yet. But we appreciate each and every one of you all. And if you're watching this later, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years in the future, we appreciate you too. However, by the time that you watch this video, you better have the book in your hand at that point because there ain't no excuse. These people got an excuse, but you don't. Right. So thank you all, CG. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your dedication to me. Thank you for your dedication to the conquerors that are listening to us right now and the conquerors in the future that will. Your service does not go without recognition and won't go without recognition, not as long as I'm breathing. So thank you so much. And yeah, tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. We're here at 8:30. If you want to, if you're watching and you don't have access to the email list, shoot me a DM. If you go into the YouTube channel, you can see you'll see my handle for Instagram, handle for TikTok, handle for Facebook. Uh, Spoiler alert, all of them are Andre V. Gaskin. Aundrae V period CG. Okay, Andre V, no period, Gaskin. Andre V, that's just the regular letter V, V for victory, right? Gaskin, Gaskin. Hit me up. If you want to just jump in my DMs, type the word increase. I'll make sure I get you all of the information you need so you can get updated on when we have these lives, when the book is going to drop, and all of the other things we have coming down the increase pipeline in the near future. We appreciate you all. We love you all. And this session is a wrap.